Sturgeon just commented that there's still too many.
Yeah. Cut.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I can see you, by the way, behind you. Just not you. I'm talking about Broviac. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, congratulations first off. But I want you to know the easy part you just did, which was, I don't know, get good grades first semester. All that is for you guys is just some part of the eligibility cutoff. It just establishes a cutoff. It doesn't guarantee you anything except that you got a letter. For you to be a member of the National Student Honor Society in our chapter, you've got to apply. Which means if you apply, that means you can get cut. Okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce 3 people to you. These people, well, you guys will all know at least one of them. The representative for the STARS team is Mr. Stump. What that means is very simple. That's who you give your application to on the STARS team. If you are a STAR team's member and you have a completed application, you go give it to Mr. Stump and he'll check you off. If you have a question about your application, you ask him. You can ask me, but I will say what team you're on. You're going to say STARS team. I'm going to say go talk to Mr. Stump. Okay? All right, the next person is Mr. Broviac. Now, Mr. Broviac, if you were on the Heroes team, he gave you your letter, and in return, if you want to apply for the National Student Honor Society, that's who you're going to give your application to. And he will go ahead and check off that he's received it. Later on, he's going to become even more important to you for those of you that get an acceptance letter saying that we have looked at your application and we said yes. Because that's who you're going to give your money to. So, Mr. Broviac, come to the very, very front, stand right over there. Now, all of you see Mr. Broviac. So if you get the acceptance letter where you have your application for the t-shirt and your membership dues and all that kind of stuff, you're going to give it to Mr. Broviac. Let's review. If you get an acceptance letter when it comes time for you to pay your dues and request your t-shirt, which teacher are you going to bring this to? Mr. Broviac, very good. All right? And so, are you going to give it to Mr. Sturgeon? No. Stump? No. Me? No. Broviac? Yes. Very good. Obviously, step 2, you guys have passed. Okay? Now, if you're on the Globetrotter team, I'm going to introduce you to Mr. Sturgeon. He gave you your letter. He will be the person that if you were going to apply that you give your application to. Then you may ask yourself that if they seem to be doing all the work, what is my job? Basically nothing. I am completely unemployed except for a few things. If you do something wrong, then it's me. The love. Me, the responsibility. The love. Responsibility. Okay? We are a huge chapter. We've been a chapter for a long time. We were the first National Junior Honor Society in the Hamilton Southeastern School District. We are generally recognized, largely by us, because we don't like to tell anybody about us, that we are the most active chapter in the state of Indiana. We know that because we get asked by lots of organizations outside of Hamilton Southeastern or Fisher Junior High's area to help them. We help in Carmel, my favorite, Carmel Dads Club, when they ask us for help. We get asked to provide support at Riverside. Riverside has a chapter. We easily, Sturgeon, I've been in this position, Sturgeon has too, we routinely record 36,000 hours of community service a year. We do more community service than the National Honor Society at Fishers High School and Hamilton Southeastern High School combined. In the fall time, these are two of my officers right here. This is the president and vice president of our current chapter. If you get your acceptance letter, they'll be your president until such time that we have our induction ceremony and we retire them. But routinely, I mean, how many events do you think we had in the fall? I mean, in the fall, 2, 3 a week, we were asked by every elementary school, I think, no, all of them, even Durban asked us this year. Every elementary school has requested our school to help them. We are supporting a thing next month at Fall Creek Junior High. Fall Creek has a chapter. But we're busy. We are a very active chapter. As a matter of fact, our community service requirement is incredibly difficult. You will be required to do 50 hours of community service. Of that, every 9 weeks, something has to be something we support. If you don't fulfill those responsibilities, we put you on probation 1 9 week, the second 9 weeks, we get rid of you. We are not a participation ribbon. We stay active. Okay? Now, I'm going to go ahead and pass the microphone on to Mr. Sturgeon. He's going to talk to you about the actual application process. This application process applies to all teams, and then I'll pass anything on to Broviak that he wants special for his students, and anything that Mr. Stump has, he will add. I will tell you a few things that I will warn you about. The application doesn't make you automatic either. We had a long discussion at the end of last year because our chapter is too big. So in the past, we would take people with the idea that we could save them. We could make them better. Now, when we send out our list out to all the teachers and say, is this person a role model in your class? If we get too many no's, we're going to not take you. Okay? All right, so I'm going to pass this on to Mr. Sturgeon.
Okay, so I just want to touch on the application so you understand the process. You have more time to complete the application than any other set of students have. We're getting this out earlier. It is not due until February 17th, which is nearly 3 weeks from today. So you have plenty of time to get this done. So the one thing I want to stress now, and I'll stress again at the end, we do not accept late applications. If you are ridiculously ill and hospitalized on February 17th and can't get your application in, then you will not be a member of our chapter. Okay? There is no excuses that we accept. You have 3 weeks to get this done, partly because if you're waiting till the last minute to turn in your application, then you're probably not going to be the kind of person that we want representing our school. We don't do things last minute. You take advantage of things now. It's the best time to do things. You do it now. So, I want to walk you through the application very kind of quickly. If you've already scanned and gone to my website, or those of you that Globetrotters can go there and people can kind of look over your shoulder, that QR code, that's how you get to the application. Okay, that'll take you directly to a page to my website. If you don't have a QR code reader on your iPad, download one. They're free. You should have one anyway. It's just a necessary tool. But it'll take you to a page, and then there is a Word file and a PDF file. We don't care how you fill out the application, but we need a printed application back from you. As it says in the letter, if you need assistance printing something, then you talk to your team representative, Mr. Fossil pointed out, and we will take care of printing it. Do not ask us to print anything on February 16th or 17th. I will tell you no.
Printers broke.
Okay, it will not work for the Globetrotters on those days. That's too last minute when you're depending on somebody else. You are more than welcome to print yourself. That's absolutely fine. They can be handwritten or typed. We do not care as far as the general application goes, but the essay must be typed as it says in the directions. So I'm going to walk you through the app real quick. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. There's general information on the first page. Yep, there's a picture, because we kind of want to go, ooh, who is that kid? Because obviously we know about a third of you, but not the others, but some we know by faces. And that way we can go, oh, I remember seeing them in the hallway. They're no good. Done. Not in. So we need pictures on there. If you don't put a picture, we assume you're something shady about you. Also below the signature, where you agree to all of the virtues and role model elements that we expect, we have a little box to say that my application is missing no letters of recommendation, 1 letter of recommendation, or 2 letters of recommendation. The reason we have that on there is because We want you to turn in your completed application when you are done. You are not necessarily in control of how quickly somebody gets a letter of recommendation back to you. And we understand that. So do not hold on to this application because you're waiting for your 5th grade teacher to send back your letter. Because one, they may not ever send it back. Many of them will send it directly to us. So you may never know that it was turned in. Okay? My suggestion, I'll get to the letters here in a little bit though, is you get this filled out and done as soon as you can. You feel good about it, turn it in, and if you've already got a letter of recommendation back, include it. If not, we'll be looking for them. We'll match all these things up as they come in or as they come back to you. You may bring it in and say, hey, I got my letter from my travel basketball coach. So that's what that is all about there. Then there is a section about background, and it just asks you to talk about any school activities you've participated in, either in 6th grade or 7th grade. We don't care about 4th, 5th, or anything like that, and we want to stress this. Just because you're not involved in something doesn't mean we're not going to take you into this. It just gives us an idea of the kind of person you are. We'll kind of marry that with the essay. If we see that you're not involved in a lot, then we're going to look and expect from your essay, hey, this is for you to tell us this isn't a chance for us, for me, to get involved. I've got time. I've always wanted to do some things, and now I really want to take that step. Those of you that are involved in a variety of things, you'll be able to talk about how those activities help you meet these different requirements that we talk about in the essay. So the first one deals with school activities specifically. Then the second one deals with anything you kind of have done on your own outside of school, okay, during 6th and 7th grade. Then there's just general service activities that maybe you have done, because the others are just kind of groups, organization, clubs you belong to. Then we get into specifically service. And again, you may not have ever done service. This may be the first opportunity you have to do service. That's fine. We have no issues with that. Address it in your essay. Then there is a section that talks about what the essay is. And it points out that our traits for our chapter are scholarship, character, leadership, citizenship, and service. And your essay is going to explain to us how you are a person that demonstrates those 5 traits. There's a length requirement in there, no shorter than 550 words, no longer than 800 words. It absolutely must be typed. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And that is going to be, I'm going to tell you right now, the make or break of your application. Okay, letters of recommendation matter. Those other things, we just want to get an idea of what you're involved in. This essay, we've cut numerous people because they have not turned in a quality essay. All right? You guys have all shown you're talented students. That's how you got the grade, or got the letter, because your GPA was high enough to get it based on your first semester grades. But now you've got to show us that effort part of it too. And that's where this essay is going to come through. And then you've got your letters of recommendation that you need to get. And there are, as a separate file on my website, a form that you would need 2 copies of. All the people need to do is check off that form. That's it. They don't have to write anything for you or anything along those lines. They absolutely can. If you want to ask them to do that, that's fine. They can do that in lieu of the form or along with the form. It's a very quick, easy form to fill out for them, so it should not take much time. You cannot ask a current teacher at Fishers Junior High to fill out a recommendation for you, because we're going to be sending a list of names to all the teachers anyway and say, hey, if you have this student in class, let us know if there are some issues. So if they say there's no issues, then we assume they would recommend you, therefore you don't get a form from them. Now, you can get coaches, club sponsors, those types of things. If you're in student council and you want Mrs. Bowen to write a recommendation, absolutely. However, if they are on the faculty council, no letters of rec, because we're going to be judging it anyway. So we need letters of recommendation from people other than us. Mr. Jansen is also on the faculty council, Ms. Watson, Ms. Otta, Ms. Subler, and Mr. Baker. So those teachers do not ask for letters of rec, including those of us up here. Anybody else in the school that you're involved with outside of just being a student in their class, you can, and obviously past teachers. We do not want parents writing letters of rec unless they're going to deny you. Then I want to know that. So ask your parent, would you rather, if they say no, then have them fill it out and let me know. No, I don't want an aunt writing for you because, you babysat your cousins really well for a few days. We're not big fans of neighbors unless you have done something very special for them or been involved in them in some way. Look at coaches that you've participated in, outside clubs, organizations, church groups, youth leaders, pastors, anybody, Family, friends can kind of work, but again, they need to be able to address you beyond just, oh, I've known them for 10 years and they're a nice kid. Okay? And definitely no other, like, teenagers, which we, believe it or not, had people have their friends write a letter of recommendation. Not going to do that. So, those can be given directly to you, or they can be sent to the school with the attention of Mr. Fossil on them. And then what's going to happen is when these are all turned in on February 17th, we will review them. What it takes is for 5 of the 9 faculty council members need to say, yes, I approve this. So you can have 4 of us think you're a gigantic loser and should not be in this, but as long as 5 people think, yeah, we'll give them a shot, you're okay. Now, I will tell you the odds of that happening are pretty slim. Normally, if somebody raises some qualms, then we get together and we talk about it. We do not look to cut anybody. Even though we kind of joke about being big, that's not our goal. There's no maximum number. So you're not competing against each other. Okay? There are too many of them, and I really hope a bunch of them don't turn in applications. But
Hunger Games.
But there is no set number we're looking for. We're just, if we think you're worthy, we're going to bring you in and accept you. If we don't, then we're not. Simple as that. But those applications have to be turned in on time. We typically are done in about a week. Okay, so it's by the end of that following week, we will be able to get you a letter to let you know whether or not you've been accepted. Okay, and at that point then, the big thing is that you'll see there's an evening we all get together, we do a big leadership, and that's when we'll get into all the details about, how do I get my hours and what, you don't need to worry about that stuff right now. The only reason I want you concerned about that, and I don't want you to ask them here, but if you're concerned about, well, I'm not sure if I can do the hours, maybe I've got a lot of time, talk to one of us, okay, in class tomorrow, whatever, and we can give you some more specific feedback on that if that's determining whether or not you want to complete the application. Now, I will tell you, if you're very leery of this, if you're sitting there going, I really just don't think that I want to do this, I'm going to tell you right now, sounds mean, please don't. Don't do it. Because if you're not excited about it right now, and you're only going to do it because, well, one of my friends is doing it, I think I'll go ahead and do it. Don't do it, because odds are you will not finish. Every year we have, like this year, what do we have, about 30, 35 from people that got invited, or that were accepted?
Well, we have 9 that are way out, and I have another group that is getting ready to go up.
So it is something that, people just don't get their hours, and it is a decent amount of hours to get. It's easily done, but you have to make an effort to do it. And so we don't want people coming in because, honestly, the first few meetings that we have, it's chaotic with a large number. And it's not worth putting the time in with you guys if you're not going to finish it out. So if you're hesitant about it, don't do it. Okay? If you have questions about it, talk to us and we can answer those for you.
Yeah, if there's part of it that you're worried about, talk to one of us. I know when I was a kid, getting adult recommendations would have been the thing that freaked me out because as a kid, I didn't know a lot of adults. If that's the thing that freaks you out, talk to us and we'll see what we can do to help you out. If you're excited about doing it, but one of the application parts is worrying you, talk to us. We'll try what we can to help you in that area. But what he pointed out about the not being excited about it, or if you're on the fence about it, don't do it. It's one of those things, it is a lot of work, it requires a lot of commitment, it's a big payoff for it, but it requires you to be enthusiastic going into it. If you don't have the enthusiasm now, it's not coming later. So that would be my biggest bit of advice to you. Don't go through this whole application process just to get cut come May because you're doing nothing. So it's a lot to think about in the next couple of weeks, but the idea of if something's worrying you but you are enthusiastic, talk about it. If you're not enthusiastic, don't do it.
Mr. Stone.
I'll be really quick. You can also talk to 8th graders that are in FJHS. You should know at least one of them by now. Yeah, you could talk to Noah. We could talk to you too. No, I didn't know if I would send them to you or not. No, but ask an 8th grader if you don't want to ask one of us. Because they can tell you. If you're involved in a lot of extracurricular things, we have FJHS kids that are involved in as many or more things than you think you are. Okay, so if you're in a lot of activities, we have kids involved in activities every night too. So you can, like I said, find them and ask them. If you're worried about, Mr. Burnett mentioned if you're worried about getting an adult, just about every teacher at Sand Creek Intermediate is familiar with this process, and they're more than happy to help you if you are a good kid and you think they would write you a good letter. Feel free to ask them. because, or Sand Creek and Fall Creek. Okay, so feel free to ask them. They write letters all the time for us. That's all I have.
I'm Maddie. I am your current chapter president. Be confident in your application. If you're not confident in it, really what we're looking for is like, don't downplay your extracurriculars. Don't try to stage yourself up. Like, just say what you're in. Like, if you happen to be in 7 different sports year round, put it on there. Your hour requirement, you need to complete that. Don't try to play it off. Don't come up to us the week before your hours are due and say, I have 2 hours, what do I do? We send out enough hours that you should be able to get all of your hours done within the first half of your 9 weeks. Also, if you're not able to get your hours because you don't know how, please come to us because we can help you get hours. Like, we have some 8th graders right now that we just have them go to a classroom during BEST and they just help in that classroom and they get how many hours for it?
It's half an hour for half an hour.
They get, like, literally you just can count your half an hours up until you get your 10 hours, or if you just want to keep going with it. Church requirements, I know a lot of you, or some of you may be involved in your church, that counts as volunteer hours, so you can count that. Your teachers know more than you think they do. So if you're a bad kid and you think that your teachers don't know about it, they do. I can assure you that Mr. Fossil probably knows more about me than I think that he does, and so does Mr. Sturgeon. So
Except you're a good kid, so it's not.
yeah,
There's some things. We'll talk later.
okay. If you're not confident in that you'll get a good recommendation from whoever you're asking for a recommendation from, then maybe this isn't the thing for you, or maybe you should ask a different person. Also, it's not as hard as it looks. Like, the application looks like it's hard, it looks like it's a lot of work, but it's not. Like, you can ask Noah and I.
Ladies and gentlemen, quit packing while she's talking.
You can ask Noah and I, getting our hours isn't a problem, meeting the requirements isn't a problem. The grades really aren't a problem. Like, the only grades that actually count are your semester grades. So if you manage to get all D's on your 9 weeks grade, but then you manage to get it up to B's and A's, then you're set.
Talk to us if you have questions.